Recent weeks have seen the passing of 3 gray muzzles and founding members of furry fandom. 2 of these furries I had not heard of prior to seeing the memorials for them on Fur Affinity, so I've done my best to research to be able to put together some kind of decent commemoration for them. July 2nd saw the passing of Brian O'Connell, and a quick side note, a lot of early furries used their real names instead of personas or artist tags or whatever else. Brian was a resident of Hotel Yorba or Casa de Martin, which basically was a furry group home or common home that was also the private residence of furry artist Steve Martin, not to be confused with the comedian Steve Martin. But in the early days of the fandom, probably more so than nowadays, it was not uncommon for furry artists and creators to go into residence together, kind of like the Prancing Skill Tear of Cy Sable and Rod O'Reilly that we've covered on this channel previously. So in looking into the history of that house, we see it dates back to 1982 as a hub of furry history, gatherings, and residence with an attached studio for artwork. Now, the house itself had seen many guests that were prominent in the fandom. Some of the names I recognize, some of them I don't, and some of them are also individuals who have passed away already, and probably will be future topics for videos at some point because they are names that are prominent in furry history, like Fred Patton, who's been mentioned before, Tara Wayne, who had passed away earlier this year, Lisa Sample, wife of Ken Sample, Carno, who is known for his satirical art pieces and comics and is still alive and kicking on Fur Affinity, Xian Jaguar, who I believe was prominently featured in an early furry documentary, Roz Gibson, creator of Jack Salem, who I've featured on this channel before, Max Black Rabbit, Ken Fletcher, and plenty of others. This house was, and as far as I can tell, is still known for gatherings and get-togethers coinciding with different furry or just regular, more mainstream conventions and parties. Dating from this early fandom era, Brian O'Connell, who was also a friend of Steve Martin and many of the other early furries named, contributed to artwork for furry anthologies like Furlough or Genus. July 31st saw the passing of Tori Amundson, known in the fandom as Tugrik or the Big Blue. And to be fully honest here, again, this individual falls in the category of unfortunately learning about them after their passing and really had no prior knowledge of them, so I'm trying to learn as I go here. Now, I can see that Tugrik was affiliated with Furry Muck and is actually one of the creators of it, and that is something that I am familiar with and I've featured before in this channel to some extent. I've never been in the muck. I understand how it places in furry history, and I do understand that it actually is apparently still around and can be visited, which is something I should check out in the near future and feature on this channel. It's always sad to learn about an important member from furry history that seems to have meant so much to so many after they've died. It's also surreal to go check out somebody's Fur Affinity page as a snapshot of life and see activity they had there, and now they're no longer with us. A senior network architect by trade, Tugrik applied his energy into building Furry Muck. An online memorial that I'll post in the description if you want to read more explains that it's hard to overstate how important Tugrik was to early fandom. He was one of the original Furry Muck wizards and provided hosting services for the Muck and other early furry websites, for that matter, many years. Long before it became common, he did fursuit photo shoots at Further Confusion with professional equipment. He enjoyed being the infrastructure guy working behind the scenes to help ensure that things happened. Another SoCal and Silicon Valley computer engineer furry, Tugrik was also very generous with his time and resources and very kind and loving towards his friends. Also an LGBT advocate and obviously an advocate for furry fandom, he is missed by many. Finally, on August 20th, word spread that Carol Curtis had passed away as well. Now, she is someone I was slightly more familiar with, having read most of the Kathmandu series, which was predominantly illustrated by Terry Smith. Carol and her husband, Mike Curtis, had been the creators and owners of Shanda Fantasy Arts that had worked on and published various other early furry projects, including Women in Fur, New Horizons, and Nautilus. The Kathmandu series in and of itself was a very iconic and engaging furry drama, and probably what Carol is most well known for. It centered around a family through multiple generations with themes of Native American folklore. The main characters and their society are anthropomorphic felines, and the story is told from the perspective of one family in the past and their descendants in the future. It's definitely worth checking out. Initially, it ran as comics, which are pretty near impossible to find at this point, but you can still see archives of it online. I'll link what I can in the description. Although the series did feature some erotica, making it adult content, the main focus was to tell an engaging story over a series of issues. The erotic content was secondary to that. Carol Curtis herself, of course, being a very innovative and creative storyteller and contributing so much to this early fandom era, with much of her stories again being illustrated and brought to life by the phenomenal artist Terry Smith. And of course there were other furry artists who contributed their talent to help bring these stories to publication as well. So unfortunately we say farewell to 3 early creators and innovators in furry fandom. May they not be forgotten as we see the results of their work that influences the fandom to this day. If there's one thing that I've learned when studying furry history is that all of this is interconnected. This entire fandom came about relatively quickly, all things considered. We're talking about a time span that goes back to about 1978 roughly, so even if it's an individual or groups of individuals or works that I was not previously aware of, when I dig into it, I see that there is a direct causality between what we enjoy or what we have that's been innovated going back to these individuals, things that they did that were built on as time went on, piece by piece. So even for all the ones that I've yet to learn about that are out there, that have passed or continue to live, I appreciate each and every one of them, and I think it's important for us all to take time sometimes to appreciate them and think about that, because this fandom is like nothing else. It's been created by its members for its members. Every single thing that we have is because somebody innovated it or created it or pushed a boundary or tried to drive themselves to be more out of the box or whatever. These 3 gray muzzle furries who helped build this fandom, each in their own unique way, will be missed, but their legacy and their life work lives on through this fandom as we all continue to innovate and express ourselves through love and joy and creativity.